As I said, we are going to talk about 360 mobile topics. We have a lovely gentleman here. I will ask one question for each of you, just to have a small introduction for yourself. After that, I will ask one by one few questions, and then overall a few topics. Right. In my notes, William is first. William, welcome. Can you introduce yourself and tell something about Moloco a little bit?
Hi everyone, I'm William Melzer. I launched Moloco's EMEA office a couple of years ago. Firstly, it was hard getting here. We're very happy to be here. I know you've had some snowstorms, so it's good to see so many faces.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Thorbjörn?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Thorbjörn. I'm with a company called Adverty. And we do branded in-game advertising, so non-clickable ads that you place inside of the game to help with monetization. And yeah, I mean, I'm based in Finland, and there's actually more snow here than it is in Helsinki right now, so it's kind of weird. But it's awesome to be here.
I'm also surprised, living in Estonia for 7 years, and now snow got me here. Ozan?
Hello everyone, my name is Ozan. I'm working as a head of sales at Adjust, so it was much easier for me to come here compared to William, so because I live in Istanbul, but I came from the Anatolian side, so it takes some time. Anyway, so what we do in Adjust is we are an attribution and analytics company, and we help advertisers to make smarter decisions based on the data. So yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Batuhan, again.
Thank you, Ozan. Kinsey?
Hi guys, I'm Kinsey. I'm a head of publishing at TapNation, and came from Paris actually to see the snow here, so like everyone actually, and also to enjoy this really cool event from Mobidictum. So thanks guys. And TapNation, we hyper casual game publisher. We exist since 2019, and we made a couple million of downloads so far. So yeah, here we are.
Okay. Well, thanks for the introductions, and let's start. William, my first question is to you. So DSP, you can give a small definition about DSP as well. Who is it for? How can I add a DSP to my marketing mix, to my user acquisition strategy, and how can I choose the right one?
So we're for publishers of mobile games, and we work with anyone who wants to acquire more users in line with their LTV curve. Working with us is pretty simple, really. Like with any other network or DSP, you lock and load, you set up unattributed data via MMP, give us your KPIs, set a budget, and let our machine learning kick into gear. And you should start to see results within a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. And when I choose the right DSP, what are the metrics or the KPIs that I should look into it?
I think where we position ourselves is transparency and visibility. We offer 100% visibility on our media spend, and I think you should be looking for partners that are offering this, because that will guarantee you know exactly where your advertisements are being served. I think in all cases, when you're a demand-side buyer, basically you're looking for incremental growth, and you need to test new partners. So I think there's a case to be made pretty much for every vendor out there. From our perspective, to make it work with us, what we would like is to understand your data and understand your KPIs as deeply as we possibly can, feed that back into our machine learning, and we will bid accordingly.
Okay. Well, I know we have a lot of studios who are doing hyper-casual with publishers here, but they also want to publish their own games. And DSP sounds, like something really technical, and is it for everyone, for all size of games? Does it matter if depending on my budget, $100 to $1 million?
It's a good question, actually, and we're probably quite useful for some of the smaller scale developers out there, and that's mainly because we're bidding at the user level. So whereas when you work direct with networks, you might get outbid on the waterfall and push down the waterfall and find it hard to scale. As long as we understand what kind of user looks good to your title, we should be able to find them out there in the space and bid accordingly.
Okay. Well, I will just mix it up a little bit. you own the space with the publishers, right? But
Yes, well, we try to.
You try to. What's the connection with DSPs? Like, how do you collaborate?
So, I mean, DSPs can connect to us to buy our format within the publisher's games, and thus bringing more revenue to the publisher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Kinsey, like on your marketing strategy, I assume you work with a lot of DSPs, or like not just TikTok or Facebook. I hope.
Yeah, we work with many of them. Like we work with like many of them. Like we have a Vincent, our monetization, like VP of monetization, which is like trying to optimize everything, because at the end of the day you want to get like more like ads and a good like waterfall optimization, everything, so that you can maximize our revenue. So obviously we want to try out everything that we can to maximize like in-game revenue at the end of the day.
Okay. Then Ozan, my next question is to you. MMPs are all about saving time and giving you meaningful data, right? When is the right time for automating my UA activities? If I automate my UA, what should I focus on?
Yeah, actually, like very good question again. So the thing is, like as we discussed, like first you need to acquire more users, and we are the one actually is telling you where these users are coming from. So which communication channel is better for you, where you should put your money, which ad, which campaign, and like which ad group or creative. So especially like when you think about, like today we are also like talking about like the hyper casual games. When you talk about hyper casual games, like as you said, we need to make smarter decisions, right? Because there are lots of networks. I'm just talking about one game, but when you think about hyper casual game, it's a lot of games, right? So I mean, imagine just one network, one gaming, a lot of networks, a lot of campaigns, a lot of ad groups, a lot of creatives. Okay, we help you to make smarter decisions, but you also make the easier moves, right? So that's why actually automation comes in. So not only making smarter decision is enough, but you also make it really, really in the easiest way, actually. And this is where automation plays in the game.
Okay. Well, I've seen your dashboard before. I mean, it's pretty simple, but same question to you. Is it for everyone, or I need at least a couple of 100 million or something like that to use MMP?
No, not at all, actually. So if you want to make your life easier, automation is always a good friend of yours. Because, I mean, as I said, like, imagine you're just like using one networks. That's gonna be more than one campaign. That's gonna be more than one creatives. That's gonna be more than one target audience. And you need to make your life easier, because if you don't do it, that's gonna be human effort, and human effort is always open to mistakes. I mean, we can make mistakes, right? But computers don't. So that's why automation is really important. I mean, my opinion, of course.
Is it better for new studios who are publishing their own games to learn without moving to, like before moving to automation?
For me, as I said, like if you are the publishing side of the game, you need to use the automation. Okay. Because like everybody can make the smart decisions, and that's why we are helping them, right? So doing smarter decision is good. But the thing is, especially when you're a small team, you need to make it fast. And when you are doing fast, it's open for mistakes, right? So that's why like automation comes a really, really crucial role, actually.
Okay. Well, third question to you, Thor. In-game ads, I believe it's still a new concept. But with metaverse and everything, it's increasing right now. The adaptation of the format is still not so fast. What do you expect in the near future about the adaptation of the market? Considering 3D environments are becoming popular, people are getting more familiar with in-game ads.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, this year is going to be the year of mass adoption, right? Already the sort of the companies who are at the cutting edge of this, of ad monetization in general, and I mean, we can just look at your sponsors here, right? So we're live with TapNation, high five. Crazy Labs are live with our competitor Anzu. I'm not allowed to say what Voodoo are doing, but you know, go check Uptopia. Azure games, we're live in them as well, as are many of our competitors. So this is a format that is going to be growing tremendously this year, primarily because it is incremental revenue. Right? We don't try to bullshit anyone. Like, we will add maybe 5-10% possibly of additional revenue. So we're not going to break the bank. You're not going to need to hire a second CFO to count all your money. But it is additional revenue. It comes on top. Integration is dead simple. It's a day or two. I mean, your studios, so fast, right?
They find it quite simple most of the time, to be honest. So yeah, it's, as we said, 2-3 days maximum.
Yeah, and then there's scalability in it. For hyper-casual games in particular, levels are often procedurally generated. So you place the ad units, you set the frequency as to which it should be appearing, and then that's pretty much it. So it adds on top of it. We're also seeing, of course, increasing interest from advertisers. Like, this is a new... it is a new advertising venue in many ways, and it doesn't work exactly the same way as online classic banner display ads. These things are not clickable. So in many ways, it's the most comparative actually to outdoor advertising, right? Stuff you see on bus stops. Like, that's a little bit the mentality one should have, but it is completely measurable. Traffic can be verified through moats. I've heard Kochava has started to do these kinds of things as well. Waiting for a just. Come on, guys.
Which genres are more popular on in-game ads?
In terms of reach, it's definitely hyper-casual, but I mean, hyper-casual has such incredible reach as it is. We really love first-person shooters. We have a technology that's really well built for 3D and also for sort of calculating the viewability, which is kind of really cool, especially if you're a programmer, because it gets pretty advanced when you have like moving objects. You know, like, you could place an ad, but then maybe a bus drives in front of the ad. How do you know if the ad has already been seen? And we have a really cool technology for that. Sports games, racing games are very, very natural fits. Most of them, they already put fake ads in their games to make them look more lifelike, right? Driving around a Formula 1 track and not seeing ads feels weird because they're full of ads in reality. So for many, many years, developers have just put fake ads in there, make up fun brands, put something in, Nuka-Cola or what have you. But now they're starting to realize that it's actually quite easy to do this. And now, like, finally, like, I've been in this game for a long time. I've been doing mobile games since 2006. And all the time there has been companies trying to do in-game ads, trying to come up with a way to fix it. But it has never really been scalable and been working. But now it really does, thanks to large part, thanks to Unity, which to a large extent has standardized game development. And also because of programmatic buying, so it becomes easier for advertisers to just plug into existing sources and start purchasing through there.
The thing about in-game ads is it's not intrusive, so it doesn't annoy people. But most of the games have their own design perspective, like pixel game, retro game, and so on, like retro design. Do you have any data, like the players who play pixel art or retro game, but then they see a Coca-Cola sign? It just doesn't fit. Or you pixelize.
And no, we don't pixelize the ads. Coke wouldn't like that,
Yeah,
right? And I mean, it's a very fair point. And I mean, me and my team, right? If you're building a Dungeons and Dragons or Game of Thrones games, we're not going to call you, right? It just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something where there's a good contextual fit, that works quite nicely. We do have a couple of pixel art games. Block Post is kind of a Minecrafty type shooter looking game. But it works really well. Like, they still place them within the environments. You don't have to make them super prominent, so they really jump out at you. You can put them a little bit in the distance. They're still very viewable. So it works well. But contextual fit, like, does it fit within the world of the game, is really important.
Okay. Do you see game developers? I will ask this question to you, Kinsey, as well. Design their games based on the advertisement they are going to use, because it's syncing with the game design, right? Like, if I know that I'm going to use an in-game ads, should I design my game accordingly and put a couple of banners somewhere?
I mean, and the ones who have done it successfully, they are starting to do this, and I think, like, the longer the year goes, more and more will start doing it. So again, it really comes down to a contextual fit. That's why it's important for us now to, like, really educate the market around this and have success cases, again, like all of your very fancy sponsors here who are doing this today. And yeah, well, I'm sure you can tell more about it. You're closer to it than I am.
Yeah, I agree with you completely because like if we talk about like a regular ads like rewarded videos that we know, a few years ago, developers were not thinking about it, and now we have this shift where developers start to think more about could I like add this specific placement or this specific, as you said, banner or maybe thing into the background so that we can put an ad, because first it was mainly gameplay first, like they were focusing on the game, but now as they know that their game will be a showcase to show something else, now they start to think about it, and it's also a role as a publisher to make them think about it actually, because most of the time it will be like, okay guys, this part of the screen is not used enough, for example, so maybe we can plug an advertising here. And they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So it starts to rise more and more into the developers. I think it's also mainly due to the publishers that are pushing a bit more, to have this kind of possibilities on advertising at the end of the day.
Is this up to game designer or monetization manager?
Both.
Okay.
Like basically what we do in our case is we work closely with the game design, UI, and monetization to try, to optimize it as smooth as possible, because you don't want to lose the main thing, the game, the progression in the game, and you don't want to be to lose money on the monetization side. So we have to work like closely as a team to think about it.
Okay, William, DSPs can connect it to each like a publisher source, right? Like it doesn't matter. How do you see the?
Yeah, so actually, at the risk of selling Adverty here, it might not break the bank, but actually it's a competitive space, and every incremental piece of monetization you can add actually makes you more competitive on the UA side. So we're connected pretty much 95% of the traffic beyond the owned and operated space. The more you can pay for a new user, the more competitive you are in that space, and the quicker your volumes can grow. So I think actually, whether it breaks the bank, I think it's a must-have. With us, we'll basically enable you to kickstart your traffic acquisition in a one-stop shop. You can either use our self-serve via our platform, or you can have a fully managed service when you're working with us at scale.
If I use your DSP, do I have to worry about other channels, or one stop is enough? Because I know how big you are.
You should always use multiple channels. You're not really risking cannibalization, I would say. DSP to DSP, the different ML logics are so different. They'll identify different users at different times based on their machine learning logic to find you users that work towards your LTV curve. And then on the actual direct deal space, every network has its own traffic sources. So you're generally going to be finding incremental growth with the more vendors you use. Ultimately, do they meet your KPIs? That's really what you should be looking for.
Okay, thanks. Kinsey, last question before the general topics. It's all about increasing LTV, right? For all the games. What do you see in evolving hyper-casual games? Games are having more meta content, moving to hybrid casual, right? And what do you think about multiplayer hyper-casual games? Because I know some services are coming to the market to change the concept of hyper-casual games by adding multiplayer elements.
So big question actually. So yeah, as you said, like it's all about improving LTV at the end of the day. So what you want to do first is think about your game in the long-term approach, because again, I think 2 years ago it was more about like you think first your game, then you plug some ads like interstitial, rewarded, the basics one, and you go for it. Now you see more and more games that are like EV content based, such as the Arcade Idol New Trend, for example. Those games are much more like longer to develop, but also you have like you acquire the user for a much more long session. So you have like a player users that are play for not only 4, 5, 10 days, but for way more. And that's how you try to get users to shift from basic ads that we are really used to, from AIP, for example, or for in-game ads as we speak about. So that's really a shift, and this is why we now think the product as the very beginning as, are we gonna improve this LTV and trying new stuff that we are not used to do in the past on hyper casual, and that's why also we are shifting a bit more to more casual games. Of course, it's not. I'm not saying that hyper casual will become casual companies in 1 or 2 years, but you see more and more things that are coming up from the casual audience, like much more elaborated games, lot of content, a lot of focus on AIP in-app purchases, because we want to give users, enough content and enough rewards so that they can play more on the long run. And this is why you have such a shift right now. And I think most of the hyper-casual company now are creating projects that are really different from what it used to be in the past. So, yeah, to reply to the question, actually.
That's good.
So, hybrid casual, I think, is the term being used for it.
Yeah.
And we found a sweet spot with hybrid casual, actually, for our DSP. I'm wondering what your plans are for that and how you go about selecting a title to transfer into a hybrid casual model.
It's, to be honest, it's mainly from the very first test that we do, so that we can check all the KPIs on the game. Because, of course, some games are much more suitable for this. If you do a very simple, for example, a runner, most of the time it will be a classic, basic, hyper-casual games, a runner. While if you develop a game which has, for example, a fake multiplayer part in it, like our game Guess Their Answer, you see that user will stay quite longer naturally on the same game, even though the time of production is quite short. There is also a game that we made like Sneaker Art. We have much more long retention on those kind of games. So when we identify this, we come and say, okay, this game has a potential to get more hybrids on the market. And then we start to think about the new mechanic that will be added. So that's mainly about the typology of game and how you think about it from the very beginning.
And what proportion of users would you like to see convert to an IAP to be considered a successful hybrid casual title?
It's a tough question. I think now a lot of hybrid casual tend to have like AIP users like 20%, 20-25%. It's already a good numbers, because on hyper casual it's like lesser than that. Exactly. So you have 1%, you are good enough. So you have a lot of publishers that are trying to put that and emphasize the content base to have 20-25% maximum. I think most of the time it won't go higher than this, because of course you have this kind of limits. As we are still doing simple game, you cannot reach like the high percentage of the casual games or mid-core games at the end.
Sorry, are you finding you're able to pay a bit more per user with hybrid casual titles now?
Sorry?
Are you finding you're able to spend a bit more per user in your user acquisition campaigns for hybrid casual titles as a result?
Yeah, that's also something which is really interesting, because obviously as we are able to get users that are staying in the game for a long time and that are paying, so in that case on the user acquisition side it's also impacting what we do, and we can then get users with a much higher price on the CPI, because we know that those users will be they will bring a ROI at the end of the day. So it's something that we let ourselves as a margin,
With the Williams questions, we went deep and got more insightful information. Well, if it's all about LTV, Ozan, this question is to you. In the Adjust dashboard, what data that I see can help me improve my LTV?
Yeah, especially for the gaming companies, we should definitely differentiate the gaming. As Kinsey said, the hyper casual is a lot different than the casual gaming. For example, last year we created a report called Mobile App Trends Report, and in this report, the trends were totally different when you compare the hyper casual and the casual companies. So what you can optimize for, of course, retention rates. This is super important. As Kinsey said, LTV is also super important. And when you are also calculating LTV, it's important to differentiate your in-app purchase and ad revenue as well. So by just looking at the data, you can really understand which channel, which campaign, which ad group, which creative is better. Why this is so important? Because if you don't have this data, you cannot know where you're going to put your money on, and nobody has the unlimited budget. I know someone has a lot of budget, but it's not unlimited. That's why you need to make your decision based on the data, and this is like how we are helping our clients actually. But yeah, like when we come to your questions, like LTV is super important, as you said, and like the day 1, day 7, day 30 retention rates are also like super important, not only in aggregated level, also in the user level as well.
Okay, thanks. Well, then my next question is a general topic, so I will start one by one. Thor, we'll start with you. So the question is, there's a big shift towards blockchain and NFT gaming. Do you think this will drive the workforce away from different genres, players, like along with the players, due to pay-to-earn games?
I mean, in these NFTs makes me feel so old because I mean, sorry to say, I don't really get it. But I mean, looking at the market, right? It is clear that there's enormous opportunities there. And opportunism as well, a little bit of a gold rush to some extent. So, I mean, for sure, there's tons of things happening there. I'm not so sure about play to earn. It sounds a little bit like communism, which, I mean, in the sense that it looks amazing on paper. You can't argue against it on paper, but it doesn't really work in reality, as we've seen over the past 50, 60 years. And somehow, like, my spidey sense is tingling. Like, I mean, I keep thinking about Clash of Clans. And like, how would Clash of Clans be better if it was a play-to-earn game? And the answer I get, well, yes, the player would earn money. Yeah, but that money would come from Supercell. Why should Supercell give away that money? And if they did, they wouldn't have money to do user acquisition. And will the player earn thing be strong enough to offset? Like, I can't really get the equation working in my mind. So, yeah. Again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room by a long shot, so I just don't know. It's really interesting to follow from the sidelines, that's for sure.
One small example, well, the example itself is not small actually. So Loop Games is a Turkish game studio from Ankara, our capital. They sold their games to Applavin. Amount unknown. And now they announced that they are going to invest 100 million for NFT gaming. For example, this is an example, right? They stopped doing the mobile game and now it moves to pay to earn. So we can, continue from that.
But they're different things, right? NFT gaming and pay to earn gaming are different things, at least the way I see it, right? The NFTs will be more investment-y type mindset, whereas a play to earn, you as a player are rewarded for setting things up, right?
Yes, but their game combines both of the technology. So, William?
Hi, yeah, so I kind of agree with the business model piece. So if that gets solved, and I don't understand the inner workings yet, I do think there's a synergy with gamers. I think Crypto.com saw massive success even in the network space, where I think they were actually competing and out-competing your traditional winners on the waterfall, which were gaming guys. And why is that? I think there was a synergy between gamers and crypto. And I think there will be an appetite for NFTs, play to earn games out there in the space. So if the business model gets right, I think it's a watch this space for that.
Yeah. Ozan?
So I'm also not the smartest guy about this topic, but what I can say is that it's gonna take time, I believe, because like when we talk about hyper casual or like mobile gaming, like the good thing about that, like the producing that stuff is kind of easier to like for example TV games or like PlayStation games or the box games. Like when we think about like the NFT games, this is super new and it's gonna take, I think, so much time, and it's not gonna as easy to fix it when you see the problem in the game. So, of course, like it's an exciting thing, that's for sure. But as I said, I'm not super knowledgeable about this topic, but like I feel that we need time for that.
Actually, we should approach this topic in a way that, for example, some of the public, like Voodoo mentioned the NFT gaming, Azure has something, Zynga has something, the big players are also moving to this space. So if the focus will shift towards this and the mobile will be, lose the popularity right now. It's not easy to develop a play-to-earn or NFT game or blockchain game because it requires multiple disciplines, not just like a Unity and a game design knowledge. But how I'm asking this question in a way that if the trend will move to this, and while the big players are also following this, so instead of maybe hyper-casual development, people will try to form teams, find an investment, and move to this space. Just one recap. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to just add on what you just said, I think at the end of the day, all the crypto, NFT, and everything related to games, it will stay quite niche. For me, I can make a parallel to something like VR that was booming like a few years back, and I think it will be mainly for few users that are interested in crypto, because there are some synergy, of course, between like casual and hyper-casual games to those kind of new thing, because obviously players are like people that are quite early adopters at the end of the day. Sorry, and I think publishers are aiming for that niche, for the small audience that will be able to pay and to get through all those process of NFT and cryptocurrency in games, because even though it's a niche, it's like whales. When you have like whales on some games, they are the ones spending, they are the ones giving you the like big revenue on the games. So that's why I think most publishers are doing into that. Even like a bigger publisher of AAA game, they are starting to digging in it, because they know that it will at the end take and generate some revenue on their games. So they are not aiming the big crowds, but they are aiming just the niche. And I think that's really the key here.
Got it. Well, I'm coming to my last question, so please make sure your questions are ready. Thor, when we first met, it was, I don't know, a couple of months ago. And you said you are in the gaming industry since 2006. You compared Turkey with Finland. You said like if Turkey is right now Finland 10 years ago. Well, we are rapidly growing. Finland is, already ahead. What similarities do you see?
Well, I mean, I would argue that, I mean, not exclusively, but to some extent thanks to Zynga, soon I think Turkey is ahead. I mean, I jokingly said a few times that maybe Zynga should just acquire all of Istanbul and be done with it, right? Rename it, maybe. No, I mean, what I mean is that I see a lot of similarities in terms of, like, I moved to Helsinki in early 2012 and came a little bit as an outsider. And I mean, my first week there, I went to the Supercell office, and they were 25 people, and they showed me their 3 prototypes: Battle Buddies, Heyday, and Clash of Clans. And I said, Battle Buddies is going to rock, Heyday is okay, Clash of Clans is not going to work. So again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. But what I see, I see a very big similarities in how the ecosystem is developing, in terms of it being a very collaborative and helpful spirit. And I truly believe that that's the thing that really helped the community and the sort of the industry to grow in Helsinki. It was help and it was collaboration. Right? People weren't afraid to share ideas, to share topics. Like different game studios made different, one game studio spoke to an investor and said, oh, by the way, you should talk to these guys as well, right? Realizing that it's not a zero-sum game. And since you're all game designers, I don't have to explain game theory to you, but like everyone can benefit from it, and it really helps, and it draws attention to it as well. And the main difference I'm seeing, where I think from again as an outsider, from what I can tell, that the ecosystem is doing differently and much better here, is that there seems to be a much better and stronger environment to secure seed funding. Right? A lot of the people who made a lot of money in the Helsinki game industry and in the ecosystem, they haven't, to the same extent as I see here, been reinvesting it. But you have an emergence now of like really, really world-class VCs, both on an angel level, but also on like Ludos and companies like this, who are really making sure that the whole ecosystem are benefiting by the work they're doing and making sure that enabling more people to start studios and to start building things up. And I think it's going to be an amazing thing for Turkey, because from like a macroeconomics perspective, like when you're doing mobile games, is what you're doing is you're basically plugging a hose into the rest of the world and you're pumping money into your economy. Right? Nothing is really going out. You're not chopping down trees or pumping up oil or doing something like that. It's just pure digital money that comes in, and it becomes a huge benefit to the society at large. Right? Supercell is the largest single taxpayer in Finland, more so than any other company, and that's just pure benefit in so many levels, not just for us game nerds, but like overall. So it's really, really exciting, and I mean, incredibly impressive what has been happening in Turkey. And again, like it's not overnight. Again, I've been around. I remember when Peak Games were small and starting out, and how that developed, and now seeing all of these other companies succeeding at just amazing levels. Like it's really, really impressive.
And Finland doesn't have Mobidictum, so.
That as well.
Yeah, thanks, Thor. William, what do you see about the current market in Turkey?
Yeah, I second that. It's a really exciting space. The funding that's going into early stage businesses is phenomenal, and they're matching that up with success and growth, and we enjoy seeing that out in the space. Yeah, we're excited as a business by that, and we're approaching Turkey very seriously, and to plug ourselves, looking for recruits. So just if anyone's interested in working with Moloco or finding out more, please get in touch.
Moloco recruits, definitely check it out. Ozan, you're working with the Turkish studios for some time already.
Yes, for sure. And like when we see the growth in the Turkish market, that's also super motivating for us. And as an Adjust, we are also growing our team here. So like when I first started Adjust 2 years ago, I was the first one who is based in Istanbul. Now we are like 8 people. And it's gonna grow and grow. Why? Because we know that like Turkish market is still growing, and like every day we are seeing a lot of gaming studios, and we are also doing our best to support them as much as we can. Because like as you said, like our motivation also to help everybody to understand they are not competitors, they can learn from each other. So this is also like one of Adjust motivation as well. And of course, like as a Turkish guy, I'm also super happy to see a lot of like Turkish companies who's gonna hit the charts. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Ozan. Well, you already have a lot of Turkish people in your team. What do you see in the market and then the growing Turkish team size?
I think we should not be afraid to say that right now Turkey is like one of the most like famous market when it comes to mobile game in the world right now. I think we can see this as you just said, like you see many Turkish studios and publishers that are booming in the charts, and also when it comes to like ourselves, like working with Turkish people when it comes to like studios on different levels actually, we see that it's growing in numbers but also in quality. So that's really a good thing at the end of the day, and that's why we are here actually. So yeah, nothing else to say, to be honest.
Happy to have you, and you already have one hit game with Kraken, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Any questions? Ismet? One question we have.
Great panel, especially Thor's comments was great for Turkish ecosystem. So I have a question for William Moloco. Should we expect any kind of change, shift, or major disruption on DSP space, especially after iOS 15, 14, whatever you call it? Because, you know, like, one of the biggest advantage of performance DSPs to be able to leverage from data via extensive inventory across programmatic channels, and iOS 15 restricts us a lot. And we're seeing a lot of M&As, mergers, for example, Liftoff plus Wangle is a good example for that. So should we expect any kind of, again, major disruption on DSP space?
It's a great question. It was a major disruption we've all gone through over the past 12 months or so now. I think ultimately we can step back and think about ML and data and being able to attribute. And Apple itself have maybe changed their stance over time. They seem to have pulled back from what looked like a very swift apocalypse back in 2020. I think they've achieved what maybe they wanted to achieve with the announcement of privacy, and they seem to be working towards some level of being able to attribute. At what level that might be, we don't know. But as long as there are signals out there that ML can read, there's a case to be made for a DSP and the ability to buy more efficiently than basic level optimization.
Yeah, thank you, Smith. One more question.
Hi. So first, I thank you for your comments, valuable comments. So my question is concerning the in-game ads. Okay, you are the right guy. So I see there are many opportunistic feature in this in-game ads. So as an ex-Vodafone and Coca-Cola worker, I see that if these giant marketing companies will just see the return and the payback of the ads in this gaming, they will just push and extend the gaming in the consumer market also, what I guess. So my question is concerning the hyper-casual sector, because there is a rush, so there is a time pressure on the prototyping of hyper-casual games. So a developer or a game designer cannot think in the first priority about the in-game ads, I think. So will there be any customizable asset or plugin which can be, or an object which can be imported in the games in the prototyping phase, so they can also earn some money, or the publisher can also get some ad revenue from it? Will there be any case? What you think about the future?
Yes, so I mean, we and everyone in this space, we make it as easy as possible for game developers to get this done, right? So our SDK and all of our competitors' SDKs, they come with what is called prefabs, so like pre-made assets, your standard billboards, bus station type ads that can just be dragged and dropped and placed within the game. So that is already there. And I mean, as TapNation was saying earlier, like this is becoming a part of their revenue streams, together with other interstitials, rewarded ads, in-app purchases. This just becomes kind of another tool in the tool belt, and as developers are learning to work with this, it becomes a very organic part of the game design process. And like having worked a lot with rewarded ads, like half of this room, or at least half of this panel, I was with Ad Colony for many years previously. And like in the beginning, it was a very big challenge to convince developers to start adding rewarded video ads to their games. They saw it as a very big challenge. And it was also as my job and as a hobby game designer, it was kind of boring, because you're just like, yeah, well, okay, you place a menu in the unit interface, make it a sparkly diamond, you click it and you get something. But with in-game ads, game designers actually tend to like them quite a bit, because they become an organic part of the game. So it becomes kind of a creative challenge as well, like, well, okay, how can I play something that is visible but not disruptive? And game designers, like most of us, are problem solvers. They love challenges. So this becomes a part of it, and once you've done it once or twice, again, it becomes a skill set, and it starts moving on very quickly from there. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Anything from live? No? No questions? Then I thank you for your answers and your insightful information. One big applause for the panelists. All right. Thank you so much.